Welcome back. Well, it has been quite a while since I've got any new cool video ideas or motivation to make new videos. While the last 3 videos on this channel did pretty well, so I'm kinda confident in coming back here. For some context, the very first iPad that I actually own is this iPad mini 1. I got this for like $4 and I used it to play with games and just basic reading text and stuff. It was pretty fun until the NAND flash memory just gave up and it died. Then I started to find reading and watching YouTube videos on my MacBook inconvenient, so I thought it would be better if I just got an iPad. So I did. I went to look for an old iPad that could do both of the jobs at the lowest price possible. Because I'm broke. I came across this second generation iPad Air 2. It was iCloud locked and I got it from a random guy on Facebook. For Siri, how much is 2 million VND?
Okay, I found this on the web. For how much is 2 million HD?
It's around $80. And I did some refurbishing to get this to fully work. Well, funny story, this thing was already iCloud bypassed before and it had an iPad 3's serial number written on it. So I sent an iCloud removal request to Apple, which they happily accepted within less than 24 hours, as the iPad was identified as something they considered too old to be holding hostage. Anyway, I will be reviewing this iPad today. Although the iPad Air 2 was released in 2014, the design has held up remarkably well. As a matter of fact, it still somewhat resembles the cheapest iPad Apple currently sells. However, the front display did not age well as the bezels are noticeably thick for today's standards. My unit is in pretty rough shape, but I'm not really bothered by it. This thing boasts a 9.7-inch IPS LCD Retina display at 1536 by 2048 pixels, which still looks phenomenal for the price of it. Everything is sharp and color accuracy is totally on point. However, display aging is inevitable on this 9-year-old panel. For my unit specifically, there are a few bright spots due to an old backlight, as well as a scratch on the internal diffuser as the previous technician who worked on this made a deep scratch. There is no Apple Pencil support, so I had to get a cheap $1 capacitive pen, and it's serviceable for my random note-taking demands or drawing random stuff. Released in 2014, the performance has held up surprisingly well. It is powered by an Apple A8X SoC and 2GB of RAM. This thing went through 8 major software platforms officially provided by Apple. It is currently running the latest version of iPadOS 15 smoothly for 90% of the time, with occasional stuttering at the home swiping gestures. One thing to note is that it does not support many cool features of iPadOS, such as Sidecar and Live Text. 1080p at 60 YouTube playback can still be done, arcade games are still quite enjoyable, and reading on it is pleasantly good. Scrolling around social media is still doable, and that's all I really use it for. With 128GB of storage, there is absolutely no way in hell I am ever going to be able to fill this iPad Air up. Here's a little speed test with an iPhone 6s. Although the battery was recently replaced, it has already slightly swollen up, causing aforementioned deformities on the display. It still gives me on average 4 hours of SOT, which is relatively bad, and the worst part is that it takes no less than 3 hours to fully recharge. Gaming is not a good idea, but it's doable. Minecraft with low settings is quite smooth. I haven't tried any other games because I'm not really a gamer, and arcade games also work quite well. A keyboard and mouse can be paired, and basic productivity tasks can still be somewhat accomplished on this elementary student years old iPad. You can still do basic word processing, making simple presentations with the free Microsoft Office suite available on the App Store, or using Apple's official one. As I have mentioned before, this iPad does not support Apple Pencil, so note-taking is not really an option, as there is no smart palm rejection when using capacitive styluses. The iPad Air 2 has a set of stereo speakers next to each other at the bottom, which makes little sense except for extra loud volume. Clarity is not good, bass is on the weak side, but they're at least audible. Its side of cameras are actually decent. They are capable of taking full HD 60 FPS videos and are still sharper than the majority of sub $200 Android phones. However, their only imaginable use cases in 2023 are probably video calling and video calling. As this iPad belongs to the A8 SoC family, it uses the first generation Touch ID sensor, which is painfully slow in my opinion. Here is a comparison with the second gen on the iPhone 6s, which has an A9 processor, and presumably the third gen fingerprint sensor on the MacBook. In conclusion, would I recommend buying this iPad in 2023? It really depends. If you are really short on budget and really want a cheap iPad for your kids or yourself to play with, I think this is an okay package for less than $100, provided that you are getting a unit with more than 16 gigabytes of storage. However, for the majority of the people, I would actually recommend against buying this now. Not only is it because it's old and unreliable, you can't just easily get a 6th gen iPad for like $10 or $20 more, which has an A10 Fusion chip, the latest version of iPadOS, and most of the fancy features that this thing lacks. So it is worth mentioning that the baseline iPad's displays are not going to be as good as this, because those are not laminated. Would I continue to use this iPad for the time being? Well, yeah, sure. Considering this as an early trial of iPad users' life, I would admit that it's been quite pleasant. Well, that was one of a review. Thanks for watching, and I hope that there will be more videos after this one.